A legal and political storm has just shaken the core of Washington, D.C. Judge Charles Hargrove assumed that a mere $500 fine would silence Karoline Leavitt, but he gravely miscalculated. Leavitt didn't just resist, she fired back with an $800 million lawsuit. At just 27 years old, sharp-witted, and unyielding, Leavitt isn't only the youngest White House press secretary in U.S. history, she's become a symbol of steadfast conservatism. And this time, her focus isn't on the liberal press or Hollywood celebrities, it's on a sitting federal judge. The controversy erupted in a high-stakes courtroom where Karoline had been sent by President Trump to monitor a lawsuit involving Christians barred from praying in public. Rather than staying in the background, she became the center of attention. When Judge Hargrove fined her $500 for wearing a cross necklace. Before a packed room, the judge condemned her, calling her a fanatic, and declared, "That cross doesn't belong here." But Karoline stood her ground. As soon as she left court, she contacted her legal team and announced plans to sue Judge Hargrove and the D.C. Court for defamation and First Amendment violations. Her counteroffensive? A massive $800 million lawsuit. While legal analysts were still debating the constitutionality of the fine, Karoline dropped a bombshell. The media exploded. Social platforms lit up. To some, she was hailed as a champion of religious liberty. To others, she was accused of politicizing faith. Meanwhile, sources close to the court revealed that Judge Hargrove was under serious pressure, not only from public backlash but also from colleagues within the judiciary. With outrage growing and scrutiny intensifying, his position on the bench appeared increasingly unstable. But Karoline wasn't done, and the storm she stirred was just beginning. Back at the White House, Karoline sat in her office, the silver cross around her neck gleaming under the lights. Her eyes, focused and unyielding, reflected the fire within. She replayed Judge Hargrove's insult in her mind. Fanatic! Dangerous! And felt the sting all over again. She was determined not just to win, but to make Hargrove answer for his actions. Typing furiously, she emailed Rachel Harper, a fierce conservative lawyer known in D.C. circles as the Judge Hunter. Minutes later, Rachel entered the room, her expression hard as steel. "This isn't just about you," she said. "Hargrove's a tool for the liberal elite. They're using you to undermine Trump." Rachel laid out the legal plan. Sue Hargrove for targeted defamation, and the D.C. court for fostering religious discrimination. "We'll push the federal court for an expedited review," Rachel added. "Your reputation is at risk. They'll have no choice." Karoline nodded, adrenaline racing. She wanted Hargrove to feel what she had endured. Just a day later, the federal court responded, demanding Hargrove turn over all relevant documents within 48 hours. The timeline was tight and intense. Karoline quickly called Jake Torres, the digital strategist from Trump's 2024 campaign. "Jake, make NEXO judge on trial trend," she instructed. Jake, quick and calculated, reached out to influencers, TikTok creators, and YouTubers. He posted courtroom audio on X. Within hours, the hashtag surged to over 50,000 mentions. A viral clip of Karoline standing firm at the podium circulated rapidly. One TikTok user wrote, "Hargrove thinks he's untouchable. Karoline's about to prove him wrong." Meanwhile, in a shadowy D.C. office, Judge Hargrove sat slouched at his desk, panic on his face. News of the $800 million lawsuit was everywhere. His trembling hands reached for his mouse, clicking into emails, desperately seeking a way out. "Just a publicity stunt," he whispered, trying to convince himself. He called Judge Ellen Carver, a longtime ally with a cold demeanor. "Why is she going after me?" he asked nervously. Carver, in a hushed tone, reassured him, "Relax. I'll lean on the witnesses. She won't win without solid proof." But their scheme was unraveling. Hours later, Karoline received an anonymous email. It was from Ethan Brooks, an IT staffer at the D.C. court. "I've seen the emails between Hargrove and Carver," he wrote, attaching a PDF. Karoline's heart pounded as she read the chain of messages. The judges had conspired to teach her a lesson and send a message to Trump. One line enraged her. "Target her cross. It'll throw conservatives into disarray." Without hesitation, she forwarded the emails to Rachel and Jake. "Gay, go public now." Within hours, Fox News ran with the headline, "D.C. Judge Conspired to Discredit White House Press Secretary." Judge on Trial exploded online, exceeding 100,000 mentions. One comment summed up the mood. "Hargrove's finished. Karoline's a hero." As Hargrove watched the headlines from his apartment, he frantically tried deleting emails from the court server, but was blocked by a warning. "System has saved backup copies." In a quiet corner of the IT department, Ethan Brooks grinned discreetly and forwarded everything to Linda Martinez, an investigator at the D.C. Judicial Council. Linda, a 20-year veteran, sprang into action, assembling a team. "If he deletes anything, it's obstruction of justice," she said firmly. Meanwhile, Hargrove's colleagues began to pull away. Miss Thompson, the court clerk, photocopied her notes in secret. James Wilson, a court officer, whispered, "Hargrove crossed the line. Karoline's doing what's right." Karoline, sensing the judge's panic, wasn't slowing down. Rachel entered her office with a heavy folder. "The court's ordered a full search of Hargrove's office," she reported. "More evidence is coming." Karoline silently touched her cross and nodded. At the D.C. Court Archives, Linda opened a locked metal case labeled Hargrove Internal Records. She discovered a dossier containing over 200 cases where Hargrove fined individuals over religious symbols, 80% of them Christian. A handwritten note inside read, "Keep the courtroom free from fanaticism." Linda frowned and handed it off to her analysts. She then contacted James Wilson, who confirmed, 25 cases just last year. Crosses pins. He doubled the fines compared to other issues." Linda made notes, realizing the depth of the prejudice. Meanwhile, Karoline received a scanned copy of the black file. She read through the pages, fury building. She called Jake immediately. Posted everywhere. In under 30 minutes, the Judge on Trial soared past 300,000 mentions. Dossier images went viral. One popular post said, "Hargrove finds people for crosses but lets obscene shirts slide. He's gotta go." Karoline appeared on Newsmax. "Hargrove's not a judge. He's a suppressor of religious freedom," she declared. Viewers erupted with support. The hashtag trended globally. In his apartment, Hargrove watched with a pale face as news flooded in. His phone buzzed with alerts. The Judicial Council had scheduled an emergency session. He opened an email from Linda. "You have 24 hours to respond." He tried calling Carver. No answer. Social media was merciless. One post read, "Hargrove, start packing." Desperate, Hargrove called a secret fixer. "I need a way out," he muttered. Back at the investigation office, Linda received another email from Ethan. "Hargrove's been taking directives from Senator Daniel Kleen," he revealed, attaching email chains. Kleena, a well-known anti-Trump senator, had written, "Target Leavitt, discredit her, and Trump falls." Linda sent the information to Karoline with a note. "This is the spark." Karoline read the message, then called Rachel. "We've got both Hargrove and Kleen. Let's press harder." Rachel, reviewing the emails, gave a cold smile. "They picked the wrong woman to mess with." Jake pushed the Kleen email to social media with the caption, "Hargrove, a puppet of the liberal elite." The Newsmax clip went viral again. Comments poured in. "Karoline's tearing the system apart." Outside the D.C. courthouse, protesters gathered with signs, "Justice for Faith." From his window, Hargrove heard the chants echoing and pulled the curtains shut. I can't do this anymore." He hurled his phone across the room, shouting, "She's ruined me!" He tore open a suitcase, frantically cramming in documents, his expression unhinged. His fixer called again. "Plane's ready. Don't get caught." Harrove gave a nod, knowing the escape was inevitable. He glanced around the apartment one final time. The authority he once commanded now vanished. At the courthouse, Linda received a report from the search team. Harrove had left behind a laptop containing unencrypted data, exposing his encrypted app chats with Klain. She called Karoline. "We've recovered more messages. Harrove's fleeing." In the White House, Karoline stood by the window, gazing over the lights of D.C. "Let him run," she said coldly. "Justice will find him." She held her cross, drawing strength from those standing with her. Inside the federal courtroom in Washington, D.C., the atmosphere was charged. Sunlight poured through high windows, casting long shadows across the polished floors. At the plaintiff's table, Karoline Leavitt stood tall in her navy blazer, her silver cross glinting. The $800 million defamation lawsuit against Judge Charles Harrove and the D.C. court system had reached its climax, powered by a flood of damning evidence. Harrove's black file, Thompson's journal, Senator Klein's emails, and encrypted messages. Outside, protesters shouted, their voices echoing inside. Karoline's image dominated screens across America. Today, she wasn't just defending herself, she was dismantling corruption, with Harrove as the face of it. Her attorney, Rachel Harper, adjusted her glasses with calm authority as she prepared the evidence: audio files, scanned records, witness statements. Across from them, Harrove sat slumped, a shadow of his former self, eyes filled with dread. Ellen Carver, his longtime ally, looked ghostly, her silver hair wound tightly, clearly sensing what was coming. Judge Amelia Ruiz, respected for her impartiality, banged her gavel. "Proceed with the plaintiff," she said sharply. Rachel began with surgical precision, projecting Harrove's infamous black file for all to see. 250 citations for religious symbols in 6 years, 80% against Christians. "This isn't coincidence," she said, pointing to a handwritten note from Harrove. "Religion is a threat." Gasps filled the courtroom. Rachel then played audio of Harrove snarling during a private meeting, labeling Karoline a fanatic and dangerous pawn. She presented Thompson's notebook showing biased finds, then unveiled Klein's emails encouraging Harrove to smear Leavitt. The final blow came from Ethan Brooks, the whistleblower IT technician who had recovered encrypted chats where Harrove schemed to ruin Karoline's life. Outrage filled the room, and Judge Ruiz called for silence. Karoline took the stand, her voice unwavering. "Harrove didn't just target me because of this cross," she said, gently touching it. "He tried to turn the judge's bench into a weapon to silence my faith and destroy my role supporting President Trump." She looked directly at Harrove. He thought defaming me would break me, but he didn't count on the power of truth. Rachel read aloud one of Klein's emails. "Leavitt is Trump's weak link. Destroy her." Murmurs rippled through the audience. A woman whispered, "She's unstoppable." Harrove's lawyer, Victor Kleen, no relation to the senator, argued that the judge's actions followed standard procedure. Rachel countered by calling Linda Martinez to testify. Confident and composed, Linda spoke of the black file and Harrove's attempt to delete key evidence, a federal crime. Next, James. Wilson described 30 cases of unjust fines in a single year, largely ignored by Harrove's peers. Thompson, visibly shaken, testified to the judge's mockery of a boy's prayer ring while ignoring students' offensive shirts. Ethan Brooks followed, explaining how he recovered the deleted communications. Karoline nodded at him in gratitude. Every testimony tightened the trap. Then came cross-examination. Rachel called Harov to the stand. He stumbled forward, sweat trickling down his brow. "Did you target Miss Leavitt to undermine President Trump?" Rachel asked, her tone cutting. Harov stammered. I was just being neutral." Judge Ruiz permitted Karoline to stand. "Neutral?" she boomed. "You penalized my cross, but overlooked vulgar messages. You took orders from Senator Klein to ruin me. Why?" The courtroom froze. Harov's voice cracked. "Klein said it was strategy. I was pressured." Gasps. Ruiz didn't intervene. Rachel slammed down the handwritten note. "Religion is a threat." "This is what you call neutrality?" she asked. Cornered, Harov broke down in tears. "I didn't mean to. I was following orders." The room exploded with shouts of, "Liar!" Karoline stepped forward, composed. "You chose to defame me and many others for our beliefs. You betrayed justice." Harov slumped into his chair, sobbing as Judge Ruiz called for order. Next, Rachel questioned Carver. Under mounting pressure, Carver faltered. "Did you conspire with Harov to target Miss Leavitt?" Rachel showed an email from Carver. "Hit her faith. It'll sting." Carver tried to dodge, but Rachel brought in Ethan's findings, revealing clear coordination. Carver broke down. "We thought it would work," boos erupted. Judge Ruiz warned the gallery, but the damage was done. Harov and Carver had been exposed. Their scheme laid bare. The trial adjourned temporarily, but online, the momentum surged. A viral post read, "Karoline just buried Harov." A clip of her fiery cross-examination trended with the caption, "This is justice." Outside the courthouse, Karoline faced a media storm but stayed calm. "This isn't just about me. It's about all of us," she said. Inside, Harov sat in silence as his lawyer whispered frantically. He knew the verdict would shatter him. Back at the White House, staff greeted Karoline with applause. Jake burst in, tablet in hand. "You're a legend. They're calling you the legal lioness." She smiled, but her mind was already on the next move. Linda called. "His team's panicking. He may not show tomorrow." Karoline nodded, clutching her cross. "Let him run. He can't hide forever." A text from Trump read, "You crushed it. Keep going." Outside, the protests swelled. A young man waved a sign, "Karoline for Justice." A pastor live-streamed, calling her a hero. On X, a legal analyst tweeted, "Hargrove's finished. Leavitt changed the game." Karoline scrolled through the posts, her resolve deepening. He tried to shatter her, but she had turned his weapon to dust. She opened an email from a mother. "Harov, find my son for wearing a cross. You're our light." Karoline read it, heart warmed and fire reignited. TJ reported protests had spread to Virginia. "You've sparked a movement," he said. She nodded. The trial hadn't just exposed Harov. It had ignited reform. Meanwhile, Harov sat alone in the empty courtroom, the gallery deserted. He knew Karine had won, and there was no coming back. Under gray skies at a private airstrip outside D.C., Charles Harov, once a powerful judge, now wore a black coat and hat, half his face hidden. A small jet waited, humming softly, ready to fly him to Switzerland, beyond the reach of extradition. The federal trial had wrecked him. Karoline Leavitt's relentless pursuit, armed with the black file, Klein's emails, and an army of truth-tellers, had ended his career. The lawsuit didn't just ruin his reputation, it made him a global punchline. On the plane, clutching a briefcase packed with documents and cash, Harov sat hollow-eyed. The fixer, Marco, shut the cabin door. "No one knows you're here. Stay quiet." Harov nodded, but his mind spiraled. Karoline's words echoed, "You betrayed justice." He opened X one last time. A meme mocked him as a clown. Harrow flees. Karine wins. He turned off the phone, chest heavy. His power gone. At the White House, Karoline watched her trial clip again. Her face was calm, lit by a warm glow. Jake stormed in. "Sources say Harrow fled this morning," she offered, a cold smile. "Running won't save him." She touched her cross, drawing strength from Linda, Thompson, Wilson, Ethan, and the people. Linda called, "We have a federal warrant, obstruction of justice." Karoline replied, "Good, bring him back." Linda's team scoured Harrow's apartment, finding his laptop. Unencrypted data confirmed communications with Klein. A handwritten note read, "Leavitt's too strong, must leave." Linda photographed it and sent it to Karoline. He knew he lost. News of Harrow's escape exploded. TikTokers posted edits. Private. Jets cutting to Karoline in court. Caption: Harrow runs. Karoline's the storm. The clip reached 3 million views. Comments flooded in. Coward judge. Leavitt's a legend. International media hunted him. A Swiss journalist spotted him in a Geneva villa under a fake name. CNN ran the headline, U.S. judge flees after courtroom bombshell. Memes flooded the web. Harrow on a yacht captioned, "Switzerland won't save you." Inside his villa, Harrow smashed his hand against the table, shouting. No one responded. In D.C., Ellen Carver faced her reckoning. The Judicial Council suspended her and launched an inquiry based on her emails. A young court employee resigned, posting, "I refuse to serve under Harrow's shadow." The once feared D.C. court was now engulfed in scandal, and it all began with Karoline's stand. Harrow failed. Karoline stood at a White House press conference, calm but resolute, with the American flag behind her. "Harrow may have fled, but justice has no borders," she declared. "He thinks Switzerland will protect him. We will find him." She held up the $500 fine receipt from her initial trial, now framed, and said, "This was the beginning. Today is the victory." Cameras flashed, social media exploded, posts flooded in. "Harrow runs, but Leavitt haunts him." Karoline closed the conference by calling out, "Stand up for faith and justice, like we did today." In a Geneva villa, Harrow opened his laptop and saw the federal warrant. He tried to transfer money offshore, but the Justice Department had already frozen everything. A message popped up from his fixer. "They know. Leave now." He panicked. Outside, reporters gathered. He shut the curtains, fear rising. Swiss news labeled him a despicable fugitive. For the first time, Harrow felt utterly alone. Back at the White House, Karoline saw the headline and smiled faintly. Jake entered the room. "You did it," he said. "Harrow's a global joke now." She nodded, touching the cross around her neck. "This isn't the end," she replied. "Justice goes on." Protests spread from D.C. to cities nationwide. Signs read, "Karoline for Justice." A pastor posted, "Leavitt didn't just beat Harrow, she won for all of us." As Karoline looked over D.C.'s glowing skyline, she realized this wasn't just a trial. It had become a movement. The $800 million lawsuit hadn't just destroyed Harrow's career. It launched a national call for judicial reform, with Karoline at its center. Social media continued buzzing with her name, turning her into a symbol of faith and justice. Rachel. Harper arrived with news. "The federal court just ruled," she said, handing Karoline a document. "You won, major damages, and the D.C. court must reform." Though the exact sum wasn't revealed, the ruling required courts to ban fines for religious symbols, unless disruptive, and all judges to undergo First Amendment training. Karoline read the document. voice low but sure. "This is only the beginning." Rachel nodded. "You changed everything." News outlets picked it up instantly. "Leavitt wins, Harrow flees," read a Fox News headline. A pastor tweeted, "She protected our faith." Jake Torres sent her a viral trial clip at Freedom Park, Combwanen. Where Christians were once banned from praying, crowds now gathered in celebration, waving signs and crosses. Karoline stood on a wooden podium and declared, "Harrow tried to silence faith. We turned this place into a symbol of freedom." The crowd erupted. Inspired by her, Texas passed a law protecting religious symbols in courtrooms. Florida and Ohio soon followed with mandatory First Amendment training for judges. Texas's governor tweeted, "Thank you, Leavitt, for lighting the fire of justice." The Justice Department invited Karoline to serve as an advisor on religious freedom. She accepted, knowing the responsibility had grown. A young lawyer wrote, "You inspired me to open a legal clinic for faith-based discrimination victims." Karoline's eyes welled up. The movement was spreading. Linda Martinez, leading the Judicial Council, released her findings. Harrow broke federal law. Judge Ellen Carver was permanently removed. D.C.'s court promised oversight led by Linda. A young judge posted, "Leavitt made us reflect. We'll do better." The support kept pouring in. TikTokers edited her speeches into viral clips. One video showed D.C.'s glowing skyline over Karoline's words, "From cross to freedom." She received a message from a little girl. "Harrow took my prayer bracelet. You're my hero." Karoline replied, "You're the hero. You kept your faith." Jake walked in, tablet glowing. "You started a revolution." Protests had reached California. She looked out again at the lights. Harrow had fled, but the broken system he represented was collapsing. On X, a law student wrote, "I'm studying law because of Leavitt. She proved justice is real." Later, Karoline stood at a congressional podium, silver cross glinting on her blazer. "We must protect faith from unjust rulings," she said. Elise Stefanik applauded from the audience. A congressman tweeted, "Leavitt didn't just defeat Harrow, she's rebuilding the judiciary." Her speech was live-streamed. Millions watched. "Justice doesn't end when the guilty flee," she said. A student messaged her, "You made me want to study law to protect faith." Karoline read it, heart full. In Geneva, Harrow, now in hiding, sent a secret apology email. "I was wrong," he wrote, offering to help with reforms. Karoline responded, "Justice accepts reform, but never forgets." She forwarded it to Linda. "He'll face the warrant," Linda said. A viral post spread. "Too late. Leavitt won." Under the stars, Karoline whispered, "Justice isn't handed to us. We fight for it." A pastor tweeted, "Leavitt taught us faith and truth will always prevail." She gazed over the city. Harrow might run, but her legacy, a fairer system, would remain. "Thank you for standing with me," she posted. It went viral. One chapter closed, another began. The journey of Karoline Leavitt, from a $500 fine to an $800 million victory,